All right, as esports continues to grow, some game publishers are turning more attention to it. However, not all gaming publishers want to hand in on it. So on one end of the spectrum, we have Riot Games, who retains like a great amount of control over its competitive scene, unlike any other publisher or developer. Somewhere in between, there are publishers like Valve or Capcom who are happy to let third-party organizers run their own events. And on the even further end, there's Nintendo, who pretty much don't have any sort of official say or any sort of official leagues for players for games like Smash. So with esports growing, more developers and publishers are building out teams to organize and or retain control over these respective scenes. But what about the grassroots community-run competitions? Should game publishers be more hands-on with their esports events? What do you guys think?
What is your opinion first? I want to know this.
I think it's good to strike a balance between the two. So, for example, I think Activision do a fantastic job with their Call of Duty events. They allow like third-party organizers to run events, and I think they offer support for them as well. But they also have the Call of Duty World League, and they've bought out MLG, so they have like the official people who know what they're doing in the esports scene.
So up for debate about whether or not MLG know what they're doing in the esports scene. I think there are certain groups that would disagree with you on that.
Experience with the scene,
yes,
right?
Certain types of experience, yes. But I am, wouldn't Blizzard also be an example of that?
Yes, I guess Blizzard would be another example. Although I think Blizzard are an interesting one because they try so hard, but they haven't quite made their competitive scene.
And this is why I bring this up. I mean, I'm sure at some point in time it won't just be you and I talking during the segment. But I think it's interesting because saying you want something that's in the middle, there's not very much evidence that that's a successful formula, right? Like Riot and Valve have both found very great success by existing on opposite ends of the spectrum. I guess obviously you're throwing Nintendo on at the very end, and they're way out there. But
they're just Nintendo.
But I feel like the success, for whatever reason, I don't know why, seems to always come from being either like super open, like libertarian style publisher, or being like very socialist, communist, controlling.
Wow. Okay.
Like Riot Games, yeah.
Well, I think say for example, I would encourage Nintendo to do more stuff with their esports scene. Like I would love them to do something with Smash, or even just like throw them a bone. Like the scene is so strong and grown so much without them. Like it'd be great to have some sort of official league there.
Yeah, Capcom is an interesting case here, Michael. I'm curious what your thoughts are on, because I don't even know where they would necessarily fall on the spectrum.
Yeah, I think in general, I feel like it's always good that publishers or developers are involved in their games when it comes to esports, even if it's just, we talked about Catherine earlier, and Atlas really, they helped fund and put on the EVO tournament a couple years ago, and that was just sort of hey, wouldn't it be cool if we did this? But I think more to maybe what Zorine's saying, Capcom, I guess, they control the Capcom Pro Tour, but all of the events are run by tournament organizers, so it's still sort of the same grassroots way that the FGC's operated. I think what interests me, though, is like Nintendo just not having anything to do with any of this, when I think they could easily be supporting or even more involved in the case of like leagues. I know that players and commentators and organizers for Smash have wanted Nintendo to be involved for years, and for whatever reason, I think personally it's just a matter of, they have a game that is 15 years old and they don't want to promote that game because, well, why would they want that when they need people to buy new games? But it's just really weird to me that they just don't have anything to do with their scenes at all.
I mean, I think that the best way for developers for me to handle this is going to the scene and saying, what do you guys need?
Yeah.
Because the scene for most of these games already exists. I mean, the FGC already exists. League of Legends, when it first started, already exists, although Riot has sort of stamped that particular thing out. But, like Dota, the Dota scene or the Catherine scene, when developer, that to me, that's what makes a really successful grassroots, community-driven esport game really jump into the next tier, is when the developer says, oh, we've already found a scene here. What do you guys need us to do in order to make sure that this scene thrives and stays where it is?
The counter argument there is that Riot Games didn't do that. If they had, they would have never created the LCS, right? Because people would have said, we want more IPLs, we want more international tournaments. And yet, they have seen massive success for doing that, for creating the LCS and for Worlds.
I mean, the LCS is such a bizarre example for this sort of thing. I mean, it's such a weird, unprecedented thing that I don't think is going to work for every game. I mean, it works for League of Legends because, I don't know, for reasons that are a multitude of different things, but I'm not sure that is the right step for other games. I mean, for Smash, like if Nintendo all of a sudden stepped in and said, no, we're running this 9-month-long season, I don't think anyone would watch that.
Really?
I mean, they would watch
feel
it,
like
but I don't
people watch
think
weekly tournaments all the time.
I don't think it would be nearly as successful as the LCS is.
But probably more successful than Smash currently is.
I mean, maybe.
I mean, and that's what's fascinating to me about all this stuff is that, and I know we're running out of time, but it's always an interesting conversation to have because no one seems to ever want the Riot model, and yet the Riot model seems to have been just dramatically the most successful.
Do you think it's like almost like they're too controlling and people fear relinquishing control to the publishers?
I mean, certainly, yeah. Like if you're MLG or whatever, you don't want, if you're a third party, and I know we're running out of time. If you're a third party organizer, you don't want all of that control taken away from you, right? And the owners and all that stuff. But the league scene has grown, I think, because of the control they've exerted.
Sure.
So the trains run on time. Let's just put it that way.